Hello and welcome to the MJ Take here on Sports Fan Entertainment. Teddy Bridgewater out for the entire 2016 NFL season with a torn ACL and a dislocated knee. It was a scary scene out there today, or at least what I saw on Twitter. I mean, I heard that the Minnesota Vikings players were just so distraught. There were curse words, there were prayers made. I mean, it was really ridiculous, really bad, and it was so sad to see everyone's reactions from this. Mike Zimmer held a press conference. It was really sad. But at the end of the day, he was really encouraging, right? And he helped people look at the Vikings and say that they're going to be okay and all of that. But a lot of people are spelling gloom and doom for the Minnesota Vikings. I'm seeing 4-12. I'm seeing 5-11. But I'm here to say, hold on one second. Because I'm actually of the belief that this injury to Teddy Bridgewater does not hurt this team as much as you think it does. Okay, now I had the Minnesota Vikings going 10-6, but missing the playoffs because I actually had the Bears over the Vikings when it was all said and done. Now things have changed since then. Okay, I now have the Bears going 9-7 and missing the playoffs, while I still have the Vikings going 10-6. So I actually now had the Vikings making the playoffs over the Bears. Now this injury, it hurts, but wait a minute. How many touchdowns, passing touchdowns, did Teddy Bridgewater have last year? In 16 games, he had 14, less than one per game. How many rushing touchdowns did Teddy Bridgewater have last year? He had 3. Okay, so total of 17 touchdowns. Okay, 17 total touchdowns Teddy Bridgewater had last year. That's not very significant production, guys. I mean, this is not production like a Drew Brees or an Aaron Rodgers or a Tom Brady or Cam Newton had last year, Ben Roethlisberger, where you can see the team's offense efficiency go way down because they're just scoring so many less points than they were because the quarterback always scores big points, puts up big points, and they're always, blowing teams out and blah, blah, blah. That's not this football team. This is a football team. Teddy Bridgewater is a game manager. And this is a football team headed by a game manager. Less than one passing touchdown per game. That's about 0.9 passing touchdowns per game. And Sean Hill, while he's not very good, I think he can produce that. I think he can give you 14 passing touchdowns. And then you want to hope that Adrian Peterson can be just as good as he was last year, and that the defense could be a little bit better, and then the Vikings could still be a playoff team. Now, where this does hurt the Minnesota Vikings is in this aspect. The leadership point of view, Teddy Bridgewater isn't the biggest or most vocal leader, but he's pretty big. I mean, he's a pretty big member of this football team. They all rally around him from time to time, and losing him hurts. It brings the team morale down and all that. But I think the Minnesota Vikings have a great head coach in Mike Zimmer, and I think he's really going to rally the troops around Sean Hill. They're going to have this mentality of us against the world. Look out for us. And I think there's still going to be a pretty good and decent team this year. Maybe not good, but decent team this year. I now have them scheduled for 7-9. So I think it's 3 more losses, 3 less wins without Teddy Bridgewater. But I don't think it's more than that. Honestly, I say 5-11 is not possible. This defense is really, really, really good. Although I do actually believe it won't be quite as good as it was last year. I think they pretty much maxed out at this point, but whatever. And then, again, Adrian Peterson, he is getting a little older, so the running game will be a little bit worse. But, don't be surprised if Sean Hill even beats these Teddy Bridgewater statistics. I mean, let's say he goes 16 games, which, by the way, is kind of a stretch at this point. But let's say he goes 16 games. He's able to throw 17 touchdowns, maybe more interceptions than Teddy Bridgewater would, like, let's say 14. He could rival Teddy Bridgewater's yards, have more passing yards, throw for 3,400. So, guys, I mean, I'm sorry. I don't think this is gloom and doom. I think, again, a lot of Vikings fans thought they were Super Bowl contenders. I mean, obviously you're not, but I don't think it's as bad as people think it is. I mean, it's 3 games, okay? So you've gone from a 10-6 playoff team to 7-9, but I think 8-8 and even 9-7 is very much possible. I mean, the Houston Texans last year went 9-7 with Brian Hoyer and Ryan Mallett and all these guys. Although, again, people hate Brian Hoyer. Guess who had better statistics last year? Brian Hoyer or Teddy Bridgewater? Yeah, it was Brian Hoyer, and it wasn't even close. I don't know why we keep hating on Brian Hoyer. So anyway, I want to update you guys on this, okay? So, Vikings are not out of the playoffs. Am I going to stick with the Chicago Bears? You know, from what I've seen in preseason, no. Because the Chicago Bears are not as potent offensively as I thought they'd be. Kevin White still needs some time to develop. And although I can sit here and stick to my guns and say I'm sticking to my prediction like I'm Skip Bayless or Stephen A. Smith, I'm not doing that. It's still before the season. I'm allowed to change my prediction. Now, those of you that follow me know I'm a big fan of a little guy, or actually a big guy, down in Tampa Bay. And his name is Jameis Winston. Now, my boy absolutely lit up the Cleveland Browns the other week. Now, yes, it's the Cleveland Browns. But as I said, he's going to solidify himself as a top 10 player in this league. And you know what? I think he's going to make the playoffs too. I now have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers making the playoffs in 2016, and that is now my bold prediction for this upcoming season. So look out for that. We'll talk about more of that later. And last thing, okay, so the Vikings go 7-9. That means there's 3 games I thought they would win that they will no longer win. What are those games? Let's talk about it. And this will update my win-loss predictions for these teams. Number 1, week 1, the Tennessee Titans. They now go to Tennessee and they lose this game. So I now have the Tennessee Titans going 7-9. Had them going 6-10. My prediction this year for the Tennessee Titans is now 7-9. A prediction of which I didn't want to go to, but with this injury, I can now go to it. I think it'll be a week 1 win for the Titans, but followed up with a week 2 loss at Detroit, week 3 win versus Oakland, and then we'll see what happens from there. That is my Titans prediction. The Green Bay Packers go from 12-4 to 13-3, number 1 seed in the NFC. And then as well, one more prediction. This one I had a little bit of trouble with because I see some other teams that could potentially win here or there. But I initially had the Detroit Lions being swept by the Vikings. Now it's a split. So now the Vikings go 3-3 in the division, lose to the Bears, the Packers, and actually no, they go 2-4 in the division, getting swept by the Packers. Now splitting with the Lions and splitting with the Chicago Bears. It's unfortunate. Teddy Bridgewater out for the season, especially when you consider this. You know, he really had a chance to solidify himself as a franchise quarterback because I don't think he is yet. You know, again, 14 touchdowns in 16 games. Man, that's not great. When Derek Carr threw 32 last year, Blake Bortles threw 35. These are your peers, Teddy Bridgewater. And I know some Vikings fans that wanted to sit back and watch this season and say, is Teddy Bridgewater really the guy that's going to lead us to the promised land? Now, you don't have that chance. Now you have to stick with him for another year, a year of the unknown. He's going to have that 4th year. And then we'll see what happens in 2017. But yeah, it's really unfortunate for the Vikings overall. But yeah, definitely, I can't see the playoffs right now. For that last playoff spot in the NFC, I have the Bucs making it, but I think the Bears will still compete. I think the Saints will compete, and I think the Lions can actually end up competing for that spot. So look out for those teams. So there you go. There's my thoughts on the Teddy Bridgewater injury. What are yours? Comment down below. If you enjoy the video, make sure to like, and most importantly, to subscribe. And until next time, this has been the MJ Take on Sports Fan Entertainment, and I'm out. Peace.